if it's for a brief moment. Each and every week, we pause at this moment of the service, and I read off the names of IDF soldiers who have paid the ultimate sacrifice in order to safeguard the future of the Jewish people. This week, I am overjoyed to announce that there were no soldiers killed in active duty this week. And yet, yesterday we saw the face of Jew hatred present itself again in this country. In Boulder, Colorado. And as I said yesterday before the service, our thoughts and our prayers, our heart is in Boulder this morning with all those who are receiving treatment right now as we speak for their burn wounds, for the two who are in critical condition. It is not our job as a Jewish community to stop anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is too large, too overwhelming, too ancient. It is our job to be proudly Jewish and to devote ourselves to come to synagogue and to maintain and to foster Jewish identity in this country. And yet, we have to recognize that 3 incidents they form a trend. They form a trend. It was only several weeks ago, exactly 7 weeks ago, that I stood on this bima and announced that Governor Shapiro's the governor's mansion in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, had been attacked on the evening of the Passover Seder. It was last week that 2 young Jewish souls were murdered in Washington, D.C. And then yesterday, a march to bring awareness to the 58 hostages still suffering in the tunnels of Gaza. This is now a trend that can't be denied. It's incumbent on all of us to understand and to articulate to our friends and neighbors, to our elected representatives, that we understand now, we've always understood, that we have to declare now that there are repercussions to the beauty of freedom of speech. To spread libelous slander for 18 months carries with it repercussions. To tolerate the celebration of libelous slander for 18 months carries repercussions. And now we're in the mess that many predicted would occur. And so now it's up to the Jewish people, because we didn't have enough on our plate, to steer this country out of the mess. For us to explain that a people who was founded in moral clarity and social nuance has to now provide for this country a sense of moral clarity and social nuance. There isn't a person in this room who stands against freedom of speech, and yet everyone in this room understands in a nanosecond hate speech. The idea that it is difficult for people around this country to discern between the two is confounding, to say the least. We have to speak up in a louder, clearer, more unified voice, unless we want the trend of the 3 events that I just described to you to continue. We have to speak up in a louder, clearer voice, because at our core, we have understood that the marches and the protests and the celebration of terror that have gone around this country for the last 18 months had to have led to these kinds of moments. We have to speak up because there isn't a family in our community who wouldn't want their children to be elected the governor of Pennsylvania or to attend a young leadership evening in Washington, D.C., or to march to bring awareness to the hostages. And these acts of violence are intended specifically for communities like ours who are intending to raise up young children to encourage us to make different choices. We will not make different choices. We're going to make the same choices, and we're going to have to protect our young people and the seniors and every member of our community as they walk. When I was in Sacramento, I sat down with a legislator and I began my conversation with her, by explaining, with his staff member, with her, by explaining that I'm not sure what church she goes to. I'm sure it's lovely, but I'm also absolutely certain that they don't spend more than $450,000 a year on security. We do. And the reason that we do is because we feel like if we don't, our children will be in danger. I don't know how many people spend time driving down Ventura Boulevard looking at other houses of worship. But the only other houses of worship that have our kind of security are the houses of worship that carry with it the same faith as we do. That's not a coincidence. It's time that we start speaking to our legislators about this unfortunate coincidence, this unfortunate situation that has been born in this country. It is completely unacceptable and it's unsustainable. Boulder is just the latest reminder of that. And so I hope and I pray for those who are injured and suffering in Boulder, but I hope and I pray for us more than anything that we wake up, that we begin calling our elected officials, that we begin explaining to our friends and neighbors what it feels like to come to shul, to come to school with our children, and have them pass armed guards on a daily basis, and them to begin to accept it, to expect it as Jews, that this is how we will live our lives. I hope and I pray that we begin to speak amongst ourselves, not of escape plans, but of how we are going to make California our home, the United States our home for the next century, and how we will play a role in making sure that the next century of American Jews enjoys the experience that the previous century has enjoyed. We not only carry with us the heavy heart of Boulder, Colorado, we carry with us, like we have every service, the heavy heart, thinking of all of the 58 still held in captivity. Please rise as we turn to a prayer of Achenu Achiotenu Kol Beit Yisrael, recognizing that all those held in the